well, not complex per se, but basically we'll be looking at more intuitive, applications for Power Automate, where we will try to perform uh, a more detailed, uh, a more detailed task with Power Automate. Right. Give me one sec. Let me try and share my screen. One sec. Can you see my screen? Let me see. Look at this one. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay. Cool stuff. Okay. Okay. Nice. You don't have any open notebook. Okay. This is side. Okay. Cool. So let's look at I will just for the sake of practice, I want us to do two things to like look at some ideas today. Let me see. File new. Okay. Okay, give me one sec. So I'm just trying to create a OneNote. I don't know. Hmm. Okay, cool. So today I just want us
Sorry,
to
the
look at
screen is blank from my end. Am I the only one having this issue?
let me stop sharing. Let me share again. One sec. How about now? You should be seeing a OneNote interface. I don't know.
Yes, I can see your OneNote interface. Okay. Yes, we can.
Probably I has to go out and come back again.
Yeah.
Oh, very city.
It usually helps, yeah. Logging out and logging back in. Right. Okay, cool. So today we'll be looking at a concept, like just the task we'll be doing today is that we want to collect responses from a Microsoft form. Then we want to use those responses to create items in a SharePoint list, right? And then we also want to notify the form submitter via email that their forms have been submitted, right? So the three actions we want to do is one, we want to do this. Two, we want to do this.
That's what
Three, we want to do this, right? So first things first, we'll need a Microsoft form connector, right? So we'll need a Microsoft form connector, and then we'll need a SharePoint connector, and then we'll need an Exchange connector, right? So this would cut across three M365 products, while it performs the action it's meant to perform, right? So just so we see the start to finish, right? So for the step we need to make is that first we need to create a form. Let's do that. Let's hold on, let me duplicate this. Create a form. Okay, just so for the sake of clarity and uniformity, the form we will create would be basically just to collect full name, phone number, email address, and personal inspiration. Right? I just want to make it concise. So after this example, I would want to show us, like I mentioned yesterday, an approval flow, right? That approval flow actually took me 1 week to finish up, right? Because I've come in today to do it, then just short of time and all that. So I'll just show you how that works, just to start with something basic, right? Then we'll go to that advanced stage. So I just want to create a form that collects this for information, right? It can have as many informations as needed, right? So I'm just trying to make it as simple as can be, right? Okay, so let's create a new form and call this form what drives you, right? Let's do. Okay, so quick start. What we want to get a text. What is your full name? Okay, what is your full name? Give me 1 sec. Let me answer a call real quick. 1 sec. Okay, sorry about that. So just continue on this. What is your full name? What was that with? Okay, yeah. Phone number would be text. Okay, so one other thing, long as required, let's make this required. What is your phone number? Okay. Another thing to look out for in like when designing applications, when designing automations, right? You need to keep to a certain type of naming convention, right? Just so that you don't lose track of what something is, and all that. Restrictions, use number, restrictions, number. Yeah, so there should be number, provide your phone number, email address. Email address. Provide your email address. Okay, provide your email address. This is required. Restrictions. Email. All right. So Microsoft Home has actually evolved over the years, to include all these intuitive stuff to make the form entry more efficient. Okay. Personal inspiration. Personal inspiration? I want to make this long text. How do I add? Your personal inspirations. Enter your answer, long answer, right? Long answer, personal inspiration. Okay, cool. So I think this will do, this should do, right? Uh, the, 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 the. Okay, cool. So what drives you? What personal inspiration, and then okay, I think we're good to go with this. Answers your question, right? Then I want to make collect responses. I want to make it anyone can respond, right? Anyone can respond. Okay, cool, cool stuff. Copy link. Let me try. So let's we've finished up with the form, right? We've been able to get the form uh working, right? Now, the first part of our job is done, right? The other part of our job would be to create a SharePoint list, site content. So I already have an existing site that I want to use for this, just so to make it a bit easier. So let's create a list and name this. Let's create a list. Let's give it some moments. A blank list. Give it personal inspiration. Inspiration. Right. Okay. Visual inside navigation, and then create. Okay. Let's add a column. Add a column text. Next. What's this? Full name. Full name. Single line of text. Default value. More options. What is on content? Save. Okay. Sorry, let me just double check this form. Phone number, email address, personal expression. Okay. Sorry. And save. Phone number, email address. Okay. Email address. Single line of text should be okay. SharePoint list doesn't have that. Yeah, okay. Email address, and then what is your personal inspiration? Text, multi-line of text. Yeah. Uh, inspiration. Okay, cool. So we have and then I don't want this to show list settings. Uh, okay, and column. And there should be this. Okay, cool. So we have our form created, list created, right? Now, what we need to do at this point would be to dive right into creating a flow that will be triggered, right, by an activity, right? So the activity we want to trigger this, let's name this flow. Capture and notify.
Okay, Mr. Stanley, sorry to just cut you here. I don't know, is
Okay.
there a way we can have a quick revision of what we did yesterday? Then we can just integrate this, like continue from that intro, like reinforce what you taught yesterday. Then we'll take it from there. I don't know if you're getting my point. Some of them seem to be lost. Is
Oh,
it
okay.
possible? Yeah, just a summary of what you discussed yesterday, then we can take it up from here.
Oh, okay. Okay, no, no worries. Yeah, I
Thank
can
you very much.
I can do that. Let's so
Thank
let me
you.
just name this capture and notify from submit. Okay, great. Okay, cool. So, just like Rafael mentioned, right? For those that didn't join yesterday but were able to join today, so we are looking at Power Automate, right? How to uh automate most of the daily tasks, we do within a business, with Power Automate, that's Microsoft Flow, right? Just so that we save ourselves some time, and then create more efficiency around those tasks, right? And like I also mentioned yesterday, Microsoft 365 tries to incorporate every of its solutions, right? So this solution speaks to this solution, this speaks to this. You can reference this from here, just so that it creates an efficient ecosystem uh, where there's cross platform, integrations. Uh, where have you? And yesterday we looked at some basic flows, because in Microsoft Flow we have like three types of flows, where we have the manual flows that you have to trigger manually, right, for them to run, right? And then we have event triggered flows that get triggered when something happens, right? Say an email comes in to your mailbox, gets triggered. Let's say a file gets added to a OneDrive folder, that flow gets triggered. Let's say a form is submitted, that flow gets triggered, right? So those flows are basically event flows that run when something happens. So the something is what you specify as an admin or as a user, right? Uh, so yeah, so those are, then we'll have the other ones that are scheduled flows, right? Flows that run based on a timeline, right? Flows that run, let's say repetitively. You want a flow that runs every day by 9 a.m. So stuff like that, right? Or you want a flow to run at exactly maybe on the 31st of every month, right? You want that flow to run the so and so date and all that, right? So depending on what has been chosen, right? Yeah. So those are scheduled flows. So we have the manual triggered flows, event triggered flows, and then we have scheduled flows, right? And I think I gave an example yesterday for a manual triggered flow that basically sends an email. I think so. Let me see. Duplicate. One sec. Okay. For those that might not be in this location yet, I did. You can access this page, the Power Automate page, with the test account you have, make.powerautomate.com, right? So here we can see the list of flows that have been created, right? So this was one of the examples we created yesterday, that basically sent an email, right? To what you specify, right? So you need to specify. So manual triggered flow, and then you add a step that sends an email, and fill out this email template and all, right? Depending on the need at hand, right? So this does this, right? So that's for manually triggered flows, and yeah, then we'll have the automated flow. So we did one yesterday that basically informs a user that a file has been created in their OneDrive, right? So when any file gets added, uploaded and stuff, the user gets notified, right? And we played with this yesterday, and we received a couple of emails from those. So this, you have an item in your folder or something of that nature, right? Yeah. So these are the ones we did yesterday, right? So today I mentioned we want to look at, a complex per se, but something that actually does something, right? Today, right? Where we would, together go through, the flows and all that for how that comes to play, right? And like I mentioned, we're trying to work across three ship M365 products, Microsoft Form, SharePoint, and then Exchange, right? See how those three can come into Confluence and then, get that job done, right? So instead of, the idea behind this is, so usually when, people submit forms, uh, the persons behind the form might manually want to send out emails, maybe create an Excel sheet, copy those email address that was submitted, put it in the to section and then send out an email to everybody that submitted, for, okay, this is, so thank you for submission and all that, blah, 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 and all, right? So you can automate that process where you already have a standard communication that you want to share out to users, and then with that you can just go ahead, and then you can go about your daily activity. Anyone submit a form, they get notified, right? Anyone submit a form, they get notified, and then you track the progress using a SharePoint list here. All right, so we've been able to create a Microsoft form. We've been able to create a SharePoint list uh, and all that, right? So that is that basically about what we looked at yesterday, right? So today we'll be walking through the steps, right? So I've been able to create a SharePoint list, which is this personal inspiration list. Let me manually add an item here, right? So because the idea of the flow is that we want to uh, use the flow to create items, right? Stanley phone number. Okay, email address. What's my email address? Okay, personal information. Okay, just something just to show how this works. I'm trying to one second, hide this column here. Just don't want this to show. Right? Okay, cool. So this is the Microsoft this is the SharePoint list. I believe most of us are familiar with SharePoint list. Hope I'm not mistaken. Right. So those are Microsoft list is part of the contents within SharePoint that can be created. So you have document libraries, and then you have SharePoint lists. Right. So this is one of them. Right. And Microsoft Forms. I believe we're all familiar with Microsoft Forms. Right. Okay. Cool stuff. So just like I did earlier, so I'm trying to create that flow, right, for when a response is submitted on the Microsoft form, right? Okay, cool. So as an admin yourself, right? So you see here, Microsoft form, it's connected to my account as an admin, right? Okay, I think I have a question here. Not familiar with SharePoint. Oh wow. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think you might make reference to previous sessions where SharePoint was. I don't know, Rafiah, has SharePoint been discussed with the mentees?
Yes, we treated SharePoint the last class, and Awal, I want to believe you're in the WhatsApp group. I had shared the recordings to all the classes we had in that
Oh, okay.
beginners class. Yes. So if he's in the WhatsApp group, he would see those links. And if you're not, I'll drop and join the WhatsApp and you see the recordings for the previous classes.
Okay. Okay. Cool stuff. So, moving on, right? So yeah, I'll just flow through, right? You'd get the hang of it much later, probably when you've gone through that SharePoint stuff. So most times in Power Automate, right? Mm, due to due to some reasons I'm yet to find out, right? So you can either use uh custom data or you use what's been provided, right? So if you look at when a response is submitted, the function, right? I have the option of using this drop down and selecting uh this form, right? So the form is named uh what drives you, right? So I can either select this form from here, or I'll say enter custom value if for some reasons uh, that particular form Power Automate isn't seeing it from the drop down. I can come down here. So for this text you have at the top here is not entirely useless, right? So at the top here you'd see it says forms.office.com, design, what have you, and all that. At the end here you see this ID, right? Where it says ID is equals to this. So this is the form ID that is being requested here, right? So you can manually copy this, and then enter into your flow, right? Enter a custom value and then put in the form ID. That also works, right? So, but since it can't see it from the list, you just select the form that you want to, work with, right? So when if a response is submitted, right? When a response is submitted, what do you want to do, right? So it's very important. I actually like using this example, right? So when a response is submitted, this is the form I want you to track when a response gets submitted, right? What's the next action you need to do here is you need to get response details, right? So when a form is submitted, right, I want to get the response, right? So usually even if you type get response, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a temporal container for the content of the form, right, within Automate, right? So when a form is being submitted, I want to cache the response from that particular form, right? Okay, please take that again, the form bird. Okay, yeah. So what I was just trying to explain is, right, for this guy here, right? So like trying to catch when a response gets submitted on the form, it usually asks for the form ID, right? And form ID is for every form. When you have, I'm on the design view, right? Let's say I want to, I'm filling out the form, right? New incognito window, paste and go, right? So I'm filling out the form also. At the top here, you still have the form ID, right? So this is the identity, the unique ID for this particular form, right? This is the unique identification for this particular form, right? And it only I can only use this particular form within this tenancy, right? So the idea is if I give you this form ID and use it to create a form, sorry, I need you to create a flow within your own tenant, it wouldn't work, right? So this form is only relevant within this organization, right? So that's why it has so each ID is unique to every organization, right? So you can't use this ID for your own form, right? Because Automate will not see it and can't, so based on, cross-tenant access and permissions and all those stuff. So it can't make changes from a different tenant into another tenant, right? So it's just those policies there, right? Okay, so moving on. Moving on, right? So like I mentioned, the next step, what we need to do is to want to cache those form entries, right? Get response, get response details, right? Form ID, which form am I talking about? Dynamic entry, when a new response is submitted, right? So when a new response is submitted, right? When I submit a response, get the response detail now. So I'm telling you to get response detail of this form, and then what's the response ID, right? So this is you select here, click on this dynamic data, right? It makes use of what's on the previous step. So what's the previous step? What's the output from the previous step, which is this response ID, right? So get response detail. This is the form ID, and this is the response ID, right? Uh, from the previous step, right? So it works in tandem, just like the downward flow and all that, right? Do you actually generate a form? Or do you actually generate a form from scratch? Since it's customized. You generate a form just from forms.office.com. This way new form and all that. You create a form that's for Ngozi that's asking, right? You could create a form straight out from here, right? Uh, you can create a form from forms.microsoft.com, or you can create a form from within SharePoint, right? From within SharePoint, you can still create a form, within a SharePoint site, so that form is relevant within that SharePoint site and all, right? So it's a bit of it's a complex, well, not complex, just some straightforward, basically. Usually, yeah, straightforward. So the next action we want to take is because the idea of this flow is to collect responses from a form, create items on a list, and then inform the user that, hey, you know, uh, and all that. So we want to get the response detail, and then the next action is to create an item, right? So create item, and then it gives you a list of steps that has the idea of creating items, right? Cooper. So you see, this is someone asked yesterday about third-party integration, right, from other apps, right? So this is uh, Cooper. It's a third party. It's not within Microsoft list of products. So this is another application out there, that this Power Automate can interact with once it's connected, right? So, but this is a premium feature. You need to be on a premium plan to have access to that, right? So you have a whole lot of create items, within Dynamics and NAV, user voice, Zendex. You can integrate this with Zendex and all those cool stuff. So yeah, but where our interest lies is within SharePoint. We want to create an item, right? So I just select create an item, right? So where do I want to create this item, right? Is it possible it integrates responses from other platforms like Google Form? Uh, so Google Form might not be an ideal integration for triggering a flow uh, because Microsoft and Google do not have that tight-knit integration per se, right? So there's no integration that links your Microsoft account with Google, right? With Google Workspace, basically, right? They are in the same business, so there's this conflict of interest. No, well, not conflict of interest. It's uh, it's not native to Microsoft 365, right? So Microsoft 365 basically works with other applications that integrate with that extend their own functionality, right? So it's I'm not sure this would work as at now, So, but yeah, it could work, but maybe not Forms, right? I know Google Forms has that also. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So like yeah, you can do that, but then it would require a third party integration called Zyper, right? So yeah, that's possible. So you can explore that if that's what you want to achieve for your organization, right? Moving on. So here is where we select the site we want to like where do you want to create an item, right? So I'm trying to leave project and then it's it will now look for available list, personal inspiration, right? So this would now give you, a drop down of the list, where you can now, I want to create an item. So what would be the values of this, fields that we've created, right? So this is where we also see how dynamic data works, right? So for title, you don't want to see this, right? Full name, right? We click on this, enter the data from previous steps. So based on what has been captured here, get response details, right? Create an item based on that. So we click on this, it gives us a list of get response detail, right? But this action, these are the outputs, right? So full name. So if you notice this, it says full name, phone number, email address, personal inspiration, which is exactly what we have here: full name, phone number, email, and personal inspiration, right? So for full name, I want to put in the response for what is your full name in here, right? So the same thing you can do for phone number, right? No. One sec, not this. Okay. Don't know why that isn't showing. Provide your email address, what are personal inspiration, phone number. I'm wondering why that isn't showing up. The phone number. Sure. Okay. Phone number. This should give me option of adding this guys here, but it's not showing up, and I don't know why. The response details. Okay. 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 I think I might know why that is happening. Let me see. Let me be sure. Sure. Okay, cool. I know why that is happening. Right. So this was created as a phone number column, right? Which is why Automate might not be processing it properly, right? So I want this to be a text, single line of text, save. Changing the database column, lots of data. Are you sure you want to change this column? Yeah, want to do that. Okay. Okay. One sec. Edit this to make it maximum. Unfortunately, okay, safe. That's fine. So here we need to actually let me delete this. Let me save this, right? So why I'm saving this is just so that my Automate can refresh, and get this particular change I've just made to the list. While that happens, let me see. Share more light on personal inspiration. Um, no, that's just the idea. The idea I came up with. I don't understand the question. Basically, we have to connect Power Automate to the app. We want it to create a flow. To the app, we want it to create a flow. I would say yes, right? Create an item. Sorry, let's go over this again, right? So, like I mentioned earlier, why we're unable to see create item, that particular dynamic data for the phone number column within Power Automate code is because the column type, the column type on that list says phone number, right? And it's looking for a number, right? So that's why it's not able to fetch. So I just put it as a single line of text, just so that we can be able to, make sense of personal inspiration. So this is the name of the list, right? Show this. Let me first start with this guy. Cool. So yeah, provide your phone number. That works now. Okay. Full name. What is your full name? Email address. What is your email address? Personal inspiration. What your personal inspiration? Yeah. So just basically this. This is what we want to create, right? Okay. Cool. Cool stuff. So this creates an item, right? And then we mentioned that we want to, after this, send an email to the user. Send an email to the form submitter, right? Just so that they know that you know, and all that. So okay, let's allow this load. So while this load, I want to create something. So sorry, I'm using ChatGPT. So actually, if I'm working with Microsoft, I like using Copilot, but then it's a lot easier for me here. Let me see new chat. Right. Mm. Okay, cool. Just to use this for where was I? Here. Okay, cool. So I want to send out an email, right? And switch to advanced notes and an email. One sec. Okay. Just to edit the body of the email. Now I will have a problem here, but let's keep rolling. Hi. Thank you for reaching out to contact us at one. Best regards. Right. Mm, yada yada yada, and then just normal. Right. So the two section actually works with, I think I need to switch to other one. Okay. Okay, cool. So, who are we sending this email to? Provide your email address. This guy, right? So, the idea is we want to send an email after a form gets created. Okay, okay. I see a question on this on the chat, but I will answer that much later. Right? Okay, cool. So, want to send an email to the person that submitted an entry, right? So the subject of the email, thanks for submitting your entry. Your entry. Hi, thank you for reaching out with your submission, and our team is reviewing your request. One of our team members will get back. So this is just a blanket, email. So depending on the project you're running, depending on the actual business need, you could format this email to look the path for you. You could add. Let me see. Let me see one of my sent emails. Okay. Inbox. So let me just copy one of these guys'. Right. So you could put in. I believe you should accept images, right? Okay. It's not accepting images here. But you could. Okay. Go back to this link. Okay. It's not accepting images. Okay, cool stuff. So, but yeah, that's the basic idea, right? Once you're done and you feel, hey, I have all I need, sure, you have this, right? So you can either you can now specify uh from what account this email gets sent. These are other integrations you could do, right? You could do this from here, add attachment, and all that cool stuff, right? Reply to and all. So, but we clear. That's not part of what we want to do today, right? So let's save this. So, like I mentioned also yesterday, once you save your flow, an automatic flow checker runs on the background to confirm that your flows uh, is properly set up at all, right? So that gets output. Okay, cool stuff. Create an item. This. Cool. Okay, cool. So now that we have our flow all set up, right? The next line of action would be to test if the flow works, right? So let me collect. Okay, I think I've copied the link already into an incognito browser here. Right, let me just refresh this. So I want to now submit an actual entry. Right. So what's my full name? My full name is Stanley Ezendiokwere. What's my phone number? 070. Okay, what's my email address? Okay, and then okay, well, just okay, and all that, right? So blah blah blah, and then I submit, right? If form has been submitted and all that. So this automatically triggers that particular flow, right? It triggers that flow to kick into effect. So the first thing we're expecting this flow to do would be first to create a list entry here, right? So we'll be expecting to, when we refresh, okay, let me just use this. Okay, I think I've already saved this, right? So down here is where we track, okay, 901, run, this has run and succeeded. Okay, let's see. We're expected to have a form entry here. Okay, cool. So here we go. That form entry has now been added to the list, right? And I should have an email. Let me see. Sent items. Yes. So because of the email address, email was meant to go out from my mailbox, right? It's already on the sent item here, and I should have that in my inbox here. Thanks for submitting your entry, right? This is my Gmail account, right? So I get this email on my account here, right? Just so that we can all also confirm that it works. Let's see. One sec. One sec. Collect. Copy link, right? So let's try and submit. I just dropped the form link on the chat. So let's see if we can interact with that form, submit an entry, and then see if that works for us also. So just once you're able to try it out, and then you get an email confirmation, right? They just either give a thumbs up or yeah, that works on the chat. So let me just give us some 5-10 minutes to do that. Thanks. Okay, cool stuff. Cool stuff. Let me see. Let's okay, I think this syncs every 1 minute or so. Okay, cool stuff. So I believe this, yeah. So and the emails are actually being sent out as expected, right? So you see how this has actually saved us, saved us the stress of waiting after everybody has submitted the form, maybe when you've stopped collecting entries and then reaching out to everyone, so this actually takes care of that particular function for the organizer of an event. You just go to sleep, and then probably at a later time you can just come back, and then send out another list of entry, and all that. So this actually saves that overhead, where it would now require personal intervention for an admin or an organizer, right? Okay, so thanks for partaking in that, right? Give me one second, right? So from here you can track how like the runs of your flows. So from here you can see if it ran, what the status is. If it fails, it would give you a reason why it failed, stuff like that. From here, right? Capture notify from submitters. So these are the last. So this gives you the last 28 days run history, and then you can click on this for a more detailed view, right? Okay, cool. Cool stuff. Process mining. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. So somebody's asking if yeah, sorry, Joseph, I wasn't speaking earlier, right? So I was just waiting everyone to get back, So but yeah, to answer Steven's question, yeah, I can change the from address, right? So let's go back to the send email part, right? So by default, since I am the admin creating this flow, right? Every interaction, every communication that this flow does would be from my account, right? So, but I can change that by clicking on this show all advanced parameters here, right? So yeah, I can set an email address here that where I want the emails to come from, right? Uh, right. If I want this email address to come from, uh, one sec. Let me see. Let me create. Sorry. Let me create. So only shared mailboxes can send emails, right? So only shared mailboxes can send emails, and then M365 groups, right? Uh, the dynamic list only is basically used for receiving, right? Sorry. Let me see. So I want this to come from Project Doge, right? Save changes. So let me create a shared mailbox called Project Doge, and then add members. So let me add myself to Project Doge. Stanley, add myself. I'm a member of this. Okay, cool stuff. So Project Doge. So in running this flow, I can say from. So this email will come from this mailbox. Uh, that's so, but this will take effect on the next run, right? Let me save this. Right, and let me also what do I need to do now just to show it's working? Uh, okay. Yeah. So Steven, can you try to submit a form, like submit another entry, rather, and let me know if the email comes from my same account or if it comes from this project Doge that we just created. So let us know. Okay, cool stuff. Thanks, Oluwole. Yeah. So that's one. That's how it works, right? So you could change that flow, right? So, but like I mentioned, by default, it gives you all this, right? So you could also blind copy another person, So there might be cases where you maybe the chief security officer wants to get notified maybe whenever someone submits a leave request and all that. So depending on what you have going on for you at the time. So right. So these are things you could set. You can set a sensitivity, right, and all that. So that's reply to manager when replying. Importance, the what's the importance of this email? Maybe high, stuff like that. You want to set. Yeah. Okay. So that is that about sorry, this, right? So we've seen how this works in practice. Uh, First, this is the trigger when the response is submitted. Get the response details, create an item, and then send an email, right? Okay, cool stuff. So another example I want us to look at, but we'll be looking at it retrospectively, right? Because I wouldn't want to. We can actually. One sec. Okay, cool. So would look at a flow I created some time back, right? So the only challenge I had with the flow is because of how, so this is a test tenant, right? And I don't have this. Let me show something. So let me just show us this, right? Maybe in subsequent lessons would see how that works, right? So if so, this is a good example actually. So this flow failed, right? And I can click on this to see why it failed, right? So it failed because no manager was found for that specified user, right? Uh, Let me now explain what this flow does, just so that we can understand it, right? So if you remember, I have this leave project request site that I created for that particular purpose, right? So I have a leave request, right? I have a leave request form here, and also what this flow does is basically to approve leave requests from sorry. So basically to approve leave requests, right? So I created a flow where uh users can internal users within the organizations can submit their leave requests. So this form was created in such a way that every user only sees the entries they make, right? So when any user accesses this link, they only see their record. So they can't see any other person's leave request, right? And then they can see the status if it's been approved or not, right? So where users can, put in their leave dates when they want to start the leave, when the leave is to end, what department they are in, what's the sleep is in an annual leave, and all those cool stuff. Maybe it's an annual leave, and then they can add a doctor's report or maybe sick leave doctor's report and all those kinky stuff, right? So once a list gets submitted, so once a leave request gets submitted, right, it goes through an approval process, right? So flows out can also be used for that particular function, right? So let's edit this and see, right? So this follows through that same the process we've established, right? So what will be the trigger, right? So the trigger for this is when an item gets created, right? So when an item gets created, where, right? So we specify, okay, when an item gets created in this site address and on this list, leave request, right? So when an item gets created here, it triggers, that flow, and then it goes through that process, for getting approval and all those good stuff, right? So the next line of action is so when an item gets created, right, we want to get the manager information for that particular user, right? Which is this function that we use here, get manager, right? Which user do you want to get the manager from, right? So you click on this when an item is created. I think I created by email address. Created by the email address of the user who created this item, right? So I want to get the manager information for this particular user, right? And then the next action would now be to start and wait for an approval, right? So this flow can get paused for as much as needed until an approval gets provided by the manager of that particular user. So like I mentioned earlier, the challenge with this flow was that I don't have a manager information on my user profile. So there's no record, right? So I understand most organizations have that, right? So where I work, LifeScore, we have we have managers attached to our user information, right? So once that is in place, this would work for you, right? So one sec, just so that we can see the flow. So let me leave present file. Okay, let me just edit this flow, right? Just so we could see. So you can add that approval flow by just clicking on this, right? So you could just say approval, right? Start and wait for an approval, right? Right. So once you add this, so it actually selects what type of approval you want to create, right? Approve or reject, right? Everyone must approve. So if you want 3 persons to approve a certain stuff, right? Everyone must approve, where it waits for those complete 3 approvals before it proceeds, right? That happens. Approve or reject, where anyone approves, right? So you want anyone that clicks on approve, even if it's just 1 person, the flow transits to the next stage, right? Let's say you want a custom response, wait for all responses, wait for 1 response, or the same way, right? So what we usually go with is first to respond, right? Anyone approves, any approval it gets, it moves to so so for every approval entry, it gives you sort of a configuration where you set, the title of the approval, uh, who are you assigning it to, like who needs to take an action on this, right? So you could maybe you could put, to depend on what you want to create. Does it impact the storage space on your SharePoint? Yes, it does, but then it's not an issue, right? Because list entries do not create much space. Yeah, so you give the title of the approval request, details, you can put in all this here, enable notification, yes, right? So just so we could see this, yeah. So leave request form. So this is what the title would look like, leave request form, and then the person's name, right? Assign this approval to the user's manager, right? So the user's manager assigned to this person assigned to here will get this email, hello, you know, you have a leave request from this person who has requested that, blah, 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 candy, and all that, right? Show all. Then you can also, yeah, so this approval comes from an email address there is a default email address for approvals, right? The default email address for approval, I think it's oh, I need to check in on my Microsoft account to see that. Right, so there's a default email for approval flows, right? So it comes in that. So we see your attention is needed on this, email that would come into your mailbox. Settings, yeah, blah blah blah. Once that is created, right? So for this flow I created, what I told it to do is create an item and then wait for approval, right? If approval is yes, I want you to do a certain type of action. I want you to take an action. If it's no, I want you to take an action, right? So that's where it brings us to where you can now add controls, right? It's condition, right? Control condition, right? You put this in. You could do until, right? So like I mentioned yesterday, this is low code programming. But then in low code programming, you also need to understand the basics of programming, right? All those conditional conditions, logic, and what have you, right? So for this, I told it to, so these are the conditions I set in place, right? Uh, these are the conditions I set in place. If it's true, so that's if it's true, meaning if an approval is got, right? Right. If I get an approval, do this line of action, right? If I don't get an approval, also do this, right? Send an email, So I mentioned if this is true, send an email to the person that created that entry, right? Hey, your leave request for this has been approved, and you will not process this leave request, right? And then I wanted to take this action, right? I wanted to update that list, and then I think to update with it. So I wanted to update the status to approved, right? And have a note also for when it gets approved. Uh, so it updates the list item and then sends an email also to the HR team that, hey, uh, process this leave request because the manager has provided an approval, right? On this, so this does this, and then it creates an item for on the leave request form, title, start date, end date, and all that cool stuff. So if it's rejected, it sends an email to the person that created the leave request was rejected with the following reason, right? And then I add the comments from this particular section, right? That would be that, and then I update this and set it as rejected, right? So is that will be about that for approval flows, right? So depending on what project you want to go run, right? This is how it looks, right? Knowing, like I mentioned earlier, knowing what you want to achieve, right? So let's say I want to create a form, you need to draw out your plan, what you want to do so that you can creatively and intelligently ask for check online for the relevant information, right? So let's say you want to create an approval flow, for instance, right? So you can now search out for how approval flows work, how to create them and the likes, right? So you first need to have a plan of what you want to achieve, right? With that, then you can automate that, right? So you need to come up first with a plan, right? And then you can automate from there. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, so the other thing I wanted us to look at today, and then we can look at more complex subjects. So I have a list of projects that we would do together. So in our next class, we'll go through a project from scratch, right? Uh, just to create something intuitive. Yeah. Can a regular user create this flow? Uh, yes, I would say. Mm, yeah, a regular user can create a flow. Because no, that works. Yeah, because if a user can create a SharePoint site, I can actually create a flow. Yeah, so a user can create a flow from within a SharePoint site. Yeah, so but most organizations disable that feature for end user, right? So end users do not create that and then impact. It wouldn't be. It would be a bit tacky for everyone within the business to go ahead and be creating stuffs out of the blue. So, but can an end user do that? Yeah, but then those access are usually restricted depending on the organization structure. Yeah, for in my organization, it's disabled for end users. Yeah. One other thing I wanted us to look at. Yeah. So I wanted us to look at templates, right? I think I showed this yesterday, but then we didn't dive deep into it, right? So I mentioned that templates are basic. So most times, what you might want to create has already been created. Well, not necessarily been created. Like someone has created, the building blocks that you could just, make use of, right? So you see, this says notify me and store the response when a student submits. Which is just something that we did just now, right? And for each of these, you would see the products that come into play, right? Uh, so you see, this says someone that asks about Google and all that. So you see, save Gmail attachments to your Google Drive and all that. So you have that flow here that will do that for you. Email me with a list of upcoming calendar events, stuff like that. You could uh, start up with this could form the basics of the flow you want to create, right? So but for unique projects that you want to run, you just need to draft what you want to do, right? So let's send an email to responder when responsible in Microsoft. Yeah, so this is what we did: created tags in Microsoft in Planner from Microsoft and post message in Teams, right? So send an email when new message is added in Microsoft Teams channel and all those stuff, right? So you can just click on it depending on what you want to do. So these are the two, Microsoft Teams and then M365 Outlook coming into play, and then this flow will connect to this. Do you want to continue? Continue. Edit in advanced mode. Create. Right. An email. Select team. Okay. What team? Which team do you want? What channel in that team? Do you want this message to, dogheads? Create. Right. So it just gives you a building blocks, and you can edit, right? So I come here, edit this flow when a channel message is added on this channel, and on this team, on this channel, get my profile, right? Send an email to myself, when a new message is added to this conference integer. Let's see, let's see one sec. Okay, let me try to access that account. Oh, okay. It doesn't seem to be added on this Teams I have here. So but basically, that's what it does. The flow does. When a new message is dropped on the channel, you get notified. You can notify a group. You can notify whomever, right? You can create that flow that does that particular activity, right? So the starting point is knowing what you want to achieve, and then having a plan, and then once that plan can now be put into action by Power Automate. Yeah. Okay. Based on my question, what if I don't have an admin right to create a shared email name project? They're an alternative to getting senders. Yeah. So you so that's why it's actually important, right? So like I mentioned earlier, it's important for each time you going out to create stuff, right? You know what would be needed, draw out what needs to be done. If you're just a power apps admin, right? So you now know that, hey, I will need this, I would need a shared mailbox. So you can just inform the IT team that, hey, create a shared mailbox for me and add me as one of the members, right? And then that gets done for you, and then you can continue with what you're doing, right? So it's also important, you consult stakeholders here and there, right? So like if we so because that approval flow I showed you, I helped NIRA, the Nigerian uh, .ng organization. I think I helped them design something of that nature, right? So which would uh, entail reaching out to HR, getting their shared mailbox, confirming who in HR would need to approve, their head of IT needed to approve also. So, get the necessary stakeholders that would be involved in that particular flow, so that you can make the necessary configurations here and there for it to work, right? So yeah, you might not have access to something, but right, you can request for that to be done, right? So just looking at a business use case and then figuring out how you could use the bit of configuration here and there to make that happen, right? So yeah, to answer your question, Stephen, even if you don't have admin right to create a shared mailbox, you can inform someone that does to create that for you. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Do we have any questions? Any questions? Just so I can answer. I think we're done with today's session. Just like Rafiah mentioned, does the Power Automation works with SharePoint only? Only no, it doesn't work with SharePoint only. It works with every other stuff. Right? It works with Exchange. It works with Microsoft Teams. It works with Microsoft Planner. It works with Microsoft Bookings. It works with a whole lot of so everything within M365, it can interact with them, right? So Power Automate goes in to the M365 suite and then interacts with every product out in there, right? So if you have a question, just drop it on the chat. I don't know if you have the or I don't know if you have the option to speak. Uh, I don't know. Emmanuel, Emmanuel, are you in?
Hi,
Maybe you could. I
hi,
see,
Mr. Stanley. Well
yeah,
done.
yeah. I see some hands
Okay,
raised. Probably they want to speak while
okay.
asking their question.
Let me allow Mike. So you could
Okay.
go ahead, Kufre. You could unmute your mic and talk. Okay. If Kufre is not talking, let me just unmute the mic for Omo.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm on mute now.
Yeah, Kufra, I can hear you.
Okay, good evening.
No, good evening.
Thank you so much. Your class have been so impactful. I'm just going to go straight to the point.
Okay.
Okay. Yesterday's class, I was a bit busy, so I was just attending on transit, but I had to try to sit down to do some practice. And
Okay.
then while I tried to set up a reminder email, a reminder to an email to do it every day. And then it
Okay.
ticks very well. I save and then I test. It says it's been tested correctly. It's fine. It's running correctly. But when I close, it shows that it did not run. So I don't know. It says unverified, but the email is verified and ticked and everything is in place. So I don't know if it's my tenant account or something, but I doubt.
Okay. So it depends. So for that, the flow you created, what was the trigger for the flow? So
Okay, for
it's recurring, just like you mentioned, right?
yeah, it's recurring. For every time, okay, I said it for every day. So that for every time, okay, the trigger was supposed to be a reminder for the class. So for every time, just send me on this time, send me a reminder to the email that the class is up.
Okay, so something like this.
Okay, I tried to. Let me put the second one. Second one was the trigger was supposed to be a YouTube mention. I do for every time there's a mention with this particular thing, please send me an email to confirm that yes, I have something like that on YouTube.
Okay, so that means you have to integrate it with the YouTube.
Yes, my
Okay.
YouTube accounts.
Okay, cool. I think I might have to. We might have to take it offline. Maybe connect with me. Let's look at it together. See why it's not running. Right. So possibly it might just be one option that wasn't toggled somewhere. Right. That's why it's not running. So I might just have to look at it on a use case basis for that particular one. Right.
Oh, that's okay, sir.
Yeah. So just connect with me after this. We can look at it within the week and see how that works. Right. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I see Omo has their hands up.
Okay, Omo, you can unmute. Mic has been allowed for you.
Okay. Thank you so much. The class has been very, very interesting. I'm actually catching up and learning so much. Okay, and straight to my question. Okay, so yesterday, um, and I think I like the part when you said we can connect with you, and I would not like to stress it here, but I just want to confirm if it's possible. So my question is, um, I have similar projects where I need to, let's say, tax for a project. Okay, the tax where every morning I design a form for my sales team, and they are supposed to update this form. And I wanted a situation where instead of me going to that form to download responses and transferring it into Excel, I wanted to automate that process where after all forms have been completed, by the end of the day, I'll get the full Excel sent to my email as to me going to the form and manually downloading. Yes, and yes, that's one. I don't know whether I should take the other one to take it together. So again, I do not. I use a BYOD, like bring your device, and I'm not connected to the maybe my official system at work, and I do not use OneDrive, for instance. So
Okay.
I think I am having challenge with that. So I want to be able to just after these responses are being collected, how to make sure just download every morning, or if it's weekly, if it's every morning, and send to my mailbox and notify me.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, it's doable, right? What you can do is so in that particular case, what you need to do would be to create a form that is based off of a SharePoint document library, right? So if you create let me show you. One sec. So let me go to this document library, right? Right. So if I create a new and I say form survey, right? So this will give me the opportunity to create a form, right? I think one sec, let this load up. So this gives me the opportunity to create a form called Omo asked question, right? And then I go ahead to create the stuff I want to create, right? By creating this from within here, right? If I collect a response, apps, Microsoft Forms. So when I'm done creating this form, right? And I click on collect response. So this has been saved. I'm gonna ask a question, right? Questions. Okay. Right. Let me see. 1 sec. Let me submit an entry here. Let me preview. Question 1. Date submit. Right. I've submitted an entry. This should create an Excel sheet of some sort here. I think Microsoft Form document uploader and the request form. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is taking a while. Yeah, but based off of what you mentioned, it's doable, right? We can create a loop where an Excel file gets created, right? Can create an Excel file and then populate it with the entries on that, for that particular day, right? And just like I mentioned also, yeah, let's connect after this, right? So, but is it doable? Yes, right? It's doable, but then it might not be as exactly as you want it to happen. But yeah, it's doable, right? We could do that. Either we probably extract the entries from within a SharePoint list, export to Excel, stuff like that. I know, right? It's doable. We can do that. Let's reach out to me on LinkedIn or on WhatsApp, right? You should be able to get my contact on WhatsApp, right? Let's look at it together. That's for Omo. Okay. Awal, do you have your question? Can you drop it on the chat, or do you want to speak? Emmanuel, let's see if we can unmute Awal.
Okay, let me do that straight away. Okay, our mic has been allowed for you now. You can unmute.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I really enjoy your class. I have a question. It's just similar to what Omo asked. So, there's a way to link a survey form which collected from the project monitoring form in the sense of ODK or Kobo collect, which you send to the collect evaluation form in the field that can be linked to link it to Power App. Is Power App or Power Automation? I know there is a way that you can connect it to Excel. Automatic, if you refresh it, you get what you are. Instead of going to download from the server, you just get it in your Excel. I know of that one. I don't know if it's workable here with the automation.
So you want to what do you want to do exactly? You want to populate an Excel file with form entries, right? Maybe survey.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's part of what we did, right? So by integrating it with Excel, yeah, we can figure out how that works, right? It's doable. That's what I would say. Yeah, you can do that. It's just trying to draw out, what the process would be like, right? Let me see, create a file. Yeah, so we can actually do that, right? So we can either choose to create a file, and then let me see, create a file. So you see, you can, create so add a key column to a table, delete a row, create a table, run script, transcription, still online, get row, delete row, get worksheet, right? So you see stuff you can do here, create a file. update a role, right? So there's a cool stuff you could do here. It's just figuring out what to put into play, right? Create item, create an item in this and all that. Could select that. Let me see. So yeah, it's doable, right? So what it might just need is to draw out what you want to do, right? Draw out the steps that you want to make. Sorry, one sec. So once you draw out, okay, the tasks you want to achieve, draw out your data points, right? So I want to get entries from so and so form. I want to put it in so and so file. I want to, so once we know the variables, right, then we can play around them and then know what to do in that case. And also, like I mentioned earlier, for that, I will just reach out to me so that I can better understand what you want to achieve, and then we can profile a solution for that particular use case, right? Kabirat, do you have a question? Is it something you can type on the chat or you want to speak? Emmanuel, let's see if we can unmute Kabirat.
Okay. Kabirat's microphone has been unmuted for you. Go ahead to ask your question. It seems Kabirat is not here. Maybe
Okay, yeah, she
sorry.
just spoke. Hi, Kabirat.
Thank you, Bento, for the lecture. I really appreciate it. My question is, please, for we that are new to this old system, like beginner, and yesterday I saw that Rafiah later dropped a message that it's for intermediate class, that meaning some have had the beginner class last year. So I'm finding the whole thing new, like strange. So I don't know if possible for me to still continue while I try and listen to the previous beginner class. I need to take time. Or should I just
so it will be interesting you continue, right, even if you're not understanding, so that when next, so the idea is you stay in the class, see what's being taught, subconsciously it's sticking there, but then your conscious mind doesn't understand it yet. So when you must have gone through the previous classes and you come back to this recording, right, it would make more sense to you at that very point in time, right? So I would always say no knowledge is a waste, right? Yeah, so not just stick to the class and then refer to the recordings at your leisure, at your learning periods and all that, and then yeah, stick to the class. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you so much. Because I
Yeah, you're
wanted to
welcome.
so I won't just. I know it's not a waste of time, but I need to get
I get.
a confirmation that I could still catch up, because
Yeah,
I
you
know
can.
yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Secondly, I filled the form yesterday, I think, concerning creating a tenant.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think it's not yet. Maybe we should wait.
Yeah, just reach out to Rafiah on the group chat and ask her. She would be in a better position to answer. Okay, cool. I think that would bring us to the end of the today's session. I think someone has a question. Keruwem Elijah
Okay.
has their
Thank
hands
you.
up.
Thank you for that. Thank you. To answer Kabirat's question, the account has been created. So if you do fill the form, so I'll be sending the username and password to the Teams chat now. So you could just follow that to sign in. So let me just drop it on the chat.
Okay, so Elijah, just drop your question on the chat and I would answer it on chat. Yeah, I'll answer you on chat. So thanks guys for joining in today, right? And we'll see you again next week. Just like Rafael mentioned, the session would start a bit earlier by 4 p.m. And yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks Emmanuel for anchoring, and do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye bye. I'll be dropping off now.